Welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, inviting you to join the fight to end human trafficking.
Oh, give me eyes to see. Oh, give me strength to lead. You give me all I need. So give me courage to believe.
Each week, Abolition Radio sheds light on the darkness of modern slavery, celebrates the work of abolitionists who are fighting for freedom, and equips the church to engage in the work of justice with hope rooted in God's Word. Our goal is to see a radio audience become an army of gospel activists.
You're in the neighborhoods we live in. You're in the ones we're passing by. You're in the ones we call our neighbors. And the ones who still escape our eyes.
Now, here's the host of Abolition Radio, founder and executive director of Love Never Fails, Vanessa Scott.
Thanks, Dave, and welcome to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. You're in for quite a treat today, and again, I'm sorry to say I am missing my partner in justice, Vanita Hopkins. Where are you, Vanita? And she says, I'm in Miami. Leave me alone. So she's not here at the moment, but she's here with me in spirit as always. And you are in for quite a treat. Today we have with us Learkana Chong, who is one of the leaders over at MISSSEY, which stands for Motivating and Inspiring Sexually Exploited Youth. And she is going to be talking about what their program is about and also an upcoming gala that they have scheduled and ways that you can get involved in supporting their mission. Also, we have with us one of the leaders of Bay Area Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition, Brian Woe. Hi, Brian.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, and good to see you. And so we're going to be talking about what, BAATCH does, what their charter is, sort of how they got started in this fight against human trafficking, and then an event that we have coming up on May 9th, which is Freedom Summit. So you're in for quite a treat. I definitely am excited about all of the variety of ways that you can get involved and fight against human trafficking. So why don't we first dive in, Learkana, if you wouldn't mind, just kind of taking us through what does MISSSEY do, where are you located, and how are you currently sort of engaging with folks that have been exploited or at risk of being exploited? Can you tell us a little bit about your mission?
Yes, of course. So MISSSEY is a nonprofit organization located in Oakland, California. We provide comprehensive, holistic, trauma-informed services for commercially sexually exploited youth and at-risk youth. And that would include case management, youth advocacy, a drop-in center, and a mentoring program.
Right. And the name of your drop-in center, which I love, is called a Safe Place Alternative, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
SPA for short.
Yeah, spa. I always thought, I want to go to the spa. That sounds like so much fun. So, I mean, you really do provide a safe environment with case managers that are on standby and activities. What are some of the activities that you all do during the week, during your spa hours? I'm just curious.
Okay. We have a lot of fun, different workshops and activities for our clients. And I think one big activity that is recurring in the drop-in center would be art projects. So they do a lot of paintings and collages and mixed media art stuff that our current drop-in coordinator, Christy, comes up with. She's very creative, and a lot of it's going to be sold, or we're going to auction them off in our upcoming gala happening on May 2nd.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, actually, I was just talking with Janice Jacobs, who is the CEO of Abolitionist Mom, and she and MISSSEY will be collaborating on an art gallery that we want to showcase and we'll be highlighting some of that on KMEL and really driving some youth engagement and youth awareness, using art as the medium for communicating with one another. And then you're going to have some of that at the gala as well. Wow, I didn't realize that. That's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so tell us about the gala. When is that happening?
Yes, so that's happening May 2nd, so it's coming up pretty soon now, and it's on a Saturday from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and it's our fourth annual Inspire Change Gala.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to go, I think it was a couple years ago, and to the one you had in Oakland over by Lake Merritt, and it was so much fun, a lot of dancing, wonderful food, and then, of course, the cause, and all of the wonderful work that you do there at MISSSEY, it will support that. I would imagine you rely very heavily on this gala to keep your operation afloat.
Definitely. The gala is, our major event of the year. A lot of coordinating and planning goes into it, and it's really thanks to our volunteers that we can make it happen every year. So this year, we're really looking forward to it and showing all of our supporters all of the hard work we've put into the organization and celebrating that.
Yeah. So a couple of things on that point, right? So I know that you recently brought in a new executive director. I think as of October, it was Aisha Bilal, and she is just fantastic. Very artistic person. I think she did this art therapy class for you guys maybe about a month and a half ago. And she's even thinking of doing something like that for adults coming up, from what I understand. But just a great, way to continue the strong leadership that you've always had there at MISSSEY. And I was so glad to see that you were able to find somebody that would kind of keep the dream alive, because MISSSEY is such an important organization to this fight against human trafficking, having been in place for over, I think it's 11 years, right? And Nola Brantley was the previous executive director, and Sarai is a co-founder, and Adela Rodarte, who now works at West Coast Children's Clinic, also a co-founder, and just kind of the richness of all the leaders that have come from MISSSEY and then kind of gone out and created other organizations that are doing fantastic work in the community, and we want to just keep that going. So I just want to urge, listeners, do support them. Go to the gala. You'll have a great time, and of course, making the gala a priority will ensure that they continue to do what they do, which is serve the sexually exploited minors in the Bay Area, something that is so important, near and dear to us here at Love Never Fails. All right, well, great. So we are going to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about another event that we have coming up in just a week after MISSSEY's gala. We have the Freedom Summit coming up, and I actually want to take a moment to drill down on all of the variety of folks that you have participating, and really what's the goal of doing this event, and sort of how is it woven into the overarching mission of Bay Area Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. But let's do that right after this break. So we'll be right back with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
Trash bills weighing you down? At Case Industries, we specialize in lowering waste costs and providing trash consolidation and compaction services for multifamily properties, condos, and commercial shopping centers. Let us help you reduce operating expenses and increase property NOI. Case Industries, saving the planet, saving you money. Contact us today for a property trash and recycling assessment online at caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. That's caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. Case Industries, the property manager's friend.
Hi, I'm Sandra Herrera, CEO of Case Industries. I've found that many employers are looking for ways to help the community but don't know how. I encourage you to consider supporting Abolition Radio as a corporate sponsor. Love Never Fails offers all the resources necessary to help young women and men overcome the trauma of exploitation and abuse. And that's why I'm proud to have Case Industries supporting Abolition Radio.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we're in the studio again with Learkana Chong from MISSSEY and also Brian Woe from Bay Area Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. So Brian, I'd love to hear a little bit. First of all, how did you get started in this fight against human trafficking?
I first heard about human trafficking back in 2008. There's a movie called Call and Response that was made by Justin Dillon that exposed me and my family to the whole issue. But to back up a little bit before that, earlier that year, I was a pastor at a church in Los Altos where I found myself in China on a missions trip to serve disabled orphans in China through an organization called International China Concern. And coming back from that trip, seeing the epitome of the marginalized and outcasts, the special needs kids in China that just got abandoned by their parents. One of the little boys, his name was Tao Tao. The staff there had actually nicknamed him Moses because they found him floating down a river in a basket because his parents had gotten rid of him. That just changed my heart in a new way to look at issues of injustice and compassion in a new way. And so we really started focusing ministry in those areas, and trafficking became part of that as we were directing kind of our efforts through our church to get the church involved in trafficking. And for the next couple of years, did a lot of that in different ways. But in 2010, my wife and I felt like we're being called to go even deeper into these issues of compassion and justice. And we really felt like we weren't going to know what that was until we got to a place where we really just had to listen to where God was leading us, where we had to just depend and trust. And so I left my position at the church, and we just spent a few months where we're exploring and listening and praying. And that was when I met my co-founder, Betty Ann Boving, of the co-founder for the Bay Area Anti-Trafficking Coalition. And she was planning an event in 2011 called the Freedom Summit. And at that time, she had a bunch of volunteers doing this. And we got involved kind of last minute, talking in a breakout session about how churches can get involved. And there were literally hundreds of churches represented there. There were 1,700 people. There was an expo with over 30 different organizations. And we realized that there were all these groups fighting trafficking or wanting to fight trafficking, including schools and civic groups. And no one was talking to each other and coordinating. And we thought this is just a huge missed opportunity to really maximize our impact. If people could work together more efficiently, and we could learn how to share resources and not duplicate efforts, and we could develop best practices, then we could have so much more impact. And so we realized that we had an opportunity to be the organization that helps everybody to connect and build this network and grow it deeper so that we can collaborate and have a collective impact. And so that's how we formed the Bay Area Anti-Trafficking Coalition in 2011, with that vision of just collaborated unity to build a response to human trafficking that's strategic and working together so we can do a better job working than if we were all on our own.
On our own, yeah. And you have been just fabulous at connecting us with so many important, people, if you will, other connections that we needed to get to the next place that God was leading us. I think about, and it still hasn't fully come to pass, but we have this movie that we've been working on, and I don't know when it'll actually occur, but we've been, you've connected us with a variety of people, and each time we've talked to the folks that you've connected us with, something more has been added to it. And again, we're greater together than we could ever be apart. And so you're an essential piece that is kind of creating the glue between all of us. You've held several sort of mini-scale freedom summits, right? So we did one there in Oakland, I don't know what it was, about 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago. And you brought, the district attorney together with a variety of other agencies and to talk about what are the top issues. Housing came up strong, the need for mentoring, the need for trauma-informed care. And so allowing all of us to kind of voice our concerns in a healthy, collaborative environment is so important. So thank you for doing that.
It's been an adventure just to be it's a privilege to be in a place where we start seeing pieces put together to form something even greater than, the whole is greater than the parts.
Exactly.
And we're not a direct service provider like Love Never Fails or many of the other guests, but we feel like we have an opportunity to really just mobilize the community in new ways that we can just deepen our impact. So it's been good.
Yeah. So I'm super excited to have the opportunity to speak and at the event, and I immediately thought, okay, I'm going to be talking about human trafficking because this is human trafficking event, and began to pray, and the Lord put something else on my heart, which is related, but I'm not gonna give any previews here, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of a step out on faith for me, and I'm excited about the opportunity again to just be very vulnerable and be used by God to share his heart, especially in this particular space where people are so much in need of what God has for all of us. So what are some of the other, in terms of the lineup, right? So you have Jars of Clay there.
Yeah, we're
super excited about that.
Yeah.
Who lined that up? That was like, what?
It's amazing. We're just excited. I mean, we remember when Jars of Clay came out and they were huge, and they're still around. They've got a heart for justice. So we thought there's a good chance they'll want to put their name behind something like this. So
I was
excellent.
like, wow. This is so cool.
Yes.
And then, of course, at the Levi Strauss Stadium, which is like, what better way to kick that off, right? And really take some ownership over that space where, we know a lot of sporting events are oftentimes associated, right, with exploiting people, just really being in the flesh and yelling and, and just getting rowdy and all of these different things, which oftentimes, unfortunately, when you're having fun, sometimes there are other people that think having fun means exploiting other people. And so I love that we're going to hopefully we're going to take back some of that territory and claim some of that territory as a safe place for people in the Bay Area. So some of the other people that are going to be speaking that day.
Yeah, well, the space itself, I think, as you said, is an opportunity because with the Super Bowl coming to the Bay Area next year in that stadium, we are not making the claim that trafficking increases around the Super Bowl because there's not the hard data behind that claim, but we are taking advantage of just the extra attention to the issue. With the Super Bowl coming here, there's already media attention to just all the people that would be coming in and the potential for more exploitation. So it's a great opportunity just to gather the Freedom Summit gathers everybody under one roof, all the individuals of the Bay Area, all the different organizations. We'll have about 50 different organizations in the expo area where people can see what everybody else does and ways to get involved, to volunteer, to donate their time, their money, to get connected, and all the different ways that people respond to human trafficking. We'll have other speakers, a lot of local activists, survivors, national experts as well, and local artists. And so we really see it as an opportunity really to catalyze the Bay Area in kind of a concerted effort. So we've been doing this every 2 years, something like it, to draw everybody together and kind of refocus and unify our whole movement toward fighting trafficking here in the Bay Area.
And not last year, but the last summit, it was at the Harbor Light?
Harbor Light Church in Fremont. Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how are you going to have people sort of central to the stadium and speaking in that fashion, or are they going to be tucked in a certain corner? Or
so the setup is the general. It's a day-long conference on a Saturday. All general sessions. So there will be a stage on the field. So if you imagine yourself at a football game at the 50-yard line, there's a stage on the field and people will be sitting in the first level of seats.
Gotcha.
And then right under there in an indoor area will be the expo where there will be the 50 organizations.
Okay.
And opportunities.
Yeah, I was trying to imagine how you might organize it. Very cool. Now I'm nervous.
No, it'll be great. There will be the Jumbotron. So,
yeah, just put put me in a bubble. I don't want to be able to see out. You can see in. So it should be fun. It should be a lot of fun. So in terms of some of the outcomes, what do you think is going to, if you think about defining success for Freedom Summit. Yeah. Well, how would you define success for your organization?
I think our vision is that every attendee can look at where they live in the Bay Area, and they can go back with a new idea of how they can get involved specifically to fight trafficking with local organizations and local efforts that are already going on around them, so that they can fight trafficking where they live. Because that's, as we spread awareness, which is a big part of this whole collaborative effort, the journey people are on is they realize that trafficking exists, and then they realize it's happening here in the Bay Area, and then they can't hold it at arm's length anymore.
Right.
And they feel like they need to get involved. And so we want to show them that there are opportunities where they live, wherever they are around the Bay Area, to get involved and to go home and be a part of that.
One of the things that I really love that Betty Ann does is the 10-10-10, right?
Yeah, right.
And you know, it really is a call to action and puts you 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, what can you do in 10 minutes? What can you do in 10 days? And what can you do in 10 months?
Right.
So you've got kind of a timeline for a plan of action that we hope everybody can go home with, and all the organizations there can give people 10-10-10s as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're anything like me, we think things are cool. We're like, oh, this is so neat. This is so, uplifting. This is so, it's so clear that we need to do something. And then we walk away and we forget about it. And so really, as you prepare to go to this event, be thinking about what can you do in 10 minutes, 10 days, and 10 months. And then when you're there, you'll actually see some suggestions from some of the organizations, such as Love Never Fails. We had our 10-10-10 that we submitted, and a variety of other of the 50, I'm sure, are going to be submitting something similar. And so you'll be able to get some creative ideas. Oh, that 10-10-10 sounds really interesting. Maybe I will, take that for myself, and I'll tell, maybe 10 people in my circle, hey, what if you just liked this page? Or what if you posted on your Facebook that, like one of the data points that I learned at one of the previous summits is that, all about how labor trafficking is happening and what products that we own are actually fair trade. And so you become an advocate of fair trade chocolate or fair trade, clothing. These little things really do make a big difference. So in just a second, we're going to come back, and I want to talk some more about Super Bowl when we get back. So thanks so much, and we'll be right back with Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors. Jesus declared himself to be the fulfillment of God's heart for justice when he quoted Isaiah, "He has sent me to proclaim freedom and to set the oppressed free." We put that call for justice into action when we take a stand for freedom against modern-day slavery. The 2015 Freedom Summit is coming to Levi Stadium on Saturday, May 9th, and we're inviting you to take action by coming to this one-day event that will help put an end to human trafficking in California. The Bay Area Anti-Trafficking Coalition and Abolition Radio invite you to come discover how you can be a freedom fighter against the sex slavery and labor trafficking that is happening today, right in your community. Come find out how housewives, business leaders, artists, and churches all around the Bay are joining together to fight the evil of human trafficking close to home and around the world. Go to KFAX.com right now and click the Freedom Summit banner to register for the 2015 Summit at Levi Stadium on Saturday, May 9th. Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we were just talking about the Super Bowl, and it's kind of interesting. You mentioned that there aren't a lot of metrics that support whether trafficking is increased during a Super Bowl or a sporting event. I can tell you, being a direct services organization, that many of the ladies that we have worked with have said that, they may have been exploited, let's say here in the Bay Area, but on a weekend when there's a fight or when there's, a Super Bowl, they're taking a plane in to wherever that is, and they're clearing a lot more than they would have cleared here locally. Now, one could argue that maybe that's because all the people that were in Oakland or in Arizona or wherever are going to the sporting event and buying them there. So maybe it's not an incremental increase. my gut says that there is, because it's just sort of I'm just thinking more humanistically. It's like the nature of being out drinking a lot, getting really rowdy with your friends. And so you think that, exploiting somebody is a part of your fun activities.
Right.
So tell me about, I saw this ad, and I want to say it was Truckers Against Trafficking, or maybe, no, was it Truckers Against Trafficking? They did this ad where they drove in front of the Super Bowl with like a hotel room or something inside of a truck with glass on the side of it.
Could be. It
was unreal. So I'm trying to remember who it was that did it. But anyway, so there's a lot of breakout groups that are forming under South Bay Coalition, right?
Yeah.
And is it South Bay Coalition?
South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking.
To End Human Trafficking. I know, I always get that mixed up. So tell me about those breakout groups and some of the goals that they have.
Well, so the Super Bowl, it's been kind of, I think, an unanticipated opportunity to really facilitate collaboration around the Bay Area, because the Super Bowl is happening in Santa Clara County, where the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking is based. But the Super Bowl really is associated with San Francisco, as the 49ers stadium. People be coming and staying in San Francisco all the way up and down the peninsula and along the East Bay as well, I think. So while the South Bay Coalition has formed a Super Bowl work group that's trying to coordinate all the activities around the Super Bowl coming, it's brought in people from all the Bay Area counties. So it's been a way for everybody in each county, where each county kind of has their own task force activities going on. And there's collaboration happening in counties by county. But the Super Bowl work group has been an opportunity for cross-county collaboration.
Yeah.
And so there's subgroups of the Super Bowl work group working with all the direct service providers, working with all the law enforcement agencies, working with legal services and community outreach. And so our sweet spot is kind of the community outreach piece. So, I mean, we're involved in a lot of the awareness and training activities. And so we really feel like we have an opportunity in the Bay Area if everybody in the Bay Area knew three things, if we knew what human trafficking is, what the signs are, and who to call, then we could create what we like to call a trafficking watch. And so people live in neighborhoods with neighborhood watch, where you call 911 if you see someone breaking into your neighbor's house, right? But if everybody in the Bay Area became a trafficking watch, not only could we be eyes and ears that help service providers and law enforcement know where to focus their efforts to identify victims that wouldn't get identified otherwise. Not only could we bring more people out of trafficking, but we could also send a message to traffickers that we are watching and we're not going to let them perpetrate their crimes here. So that type of awareness is huge. And then training key demographics. The Super Bowl work group is really looking at the hospitality industry, looking at training hotels so they can identify potential victims, looking at the transportation industry. We've already trained Bay Area airports and want to do more of that so that people can spot the victims coming in and out in transit.
Yep.
And so there's going to be a lot of activity this coming year to really help spread the awareness.
Yeah, so cool. I actually sat in on your training at Oakland Airport of the TSA agents, and I thought it was extremely well done. And I think Congresswoman Spears was there.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee
was there, and they were just sort of advocating for the importance of doing this kind of training. Just drilling into the detail a little bit, some of the simple things like, and I noticed that my sensitivity is absolutely heightened. It's like I see dead people everywhere.
Sure.
It's like so bad. The sixth sense everywhere I go. I'm like, there's something not right there. Right. There's just something not right. Yeah. But it's just looking at things like, does somebody attach themselves, a grown woman attach themselves to a man in a way that seems very childlike? Seems maybe she appears lost. Maybe you ask a question as she's passing by to, or she's standing and waiting for the restroom, like, hey, where are you headed? Are you guys on vacation?
Right.
And she's like, she doesn't want to talk. She's not allowed to talk. She doesn't know where she's going.
Right.
Are you guys staying with family? No, we're on a business trip. Well, what kind of business do you do? I'm in sales. Those are the kinds of things that really are telltale signs, right? That you're looking for lay people like us to notice.
Yeah,
right?
When someone's stories they don't add up, and there's evidence for a controlling relationship, which could indicate many things, but trafficking is definitely a possibility when there's that happening.
Yeah, and when the TSA agents, they are honing in on things like, adults not being allowed to carry their own ID or not having, their own identification. These are, if you're standing in line and you're watching something like this go on, your first inclination is probably to say, I got to get to where I'm going, and I don't have time for this nonsense. I've got to get on a trip. I'm on a business trip or whatever.
Right.
I'm going on my vacation. I need this so bad. And you see something in front of you, and it's not looking right. It really doesn't have to be that intensive, right? I mean, all they really need to do is let the TSA know that something doesn't look right.
We get focused on our own little bubbles, and I think our goal is to help people just think outside of that. And if they do see something and it hits them wrong, then they need to say something, because better to take a chance that something strange is happening and say something and help that person than to just not say anything and allow it to go on.
And I can tell you personally, I've done that, many, many times, just sort of look the other way. Since coming to this realization that that doesn't make me feel like I'm being true to myself, I've decided that, if I could think about the number of things that you stop. If you saw $1,000 bill on the floor, if you saw $100 bill on the floor, would you stop and kind of walk over to it and take the time to pick it up?
Right.
Or there was a sign, you're on the way on your vacation, or you're on your way to a business meeting, but there was a sign that said, hey, we're giving out free caramel frappuccino, at Starbucks. Just come through here, 5 minutes. We're giving it out free today. Would you not get in line at Starbucks and make sure that you could get that?
We don't want to get involved. It seems so uncomfortable. But we have a responsibility to our fellow human beings to stand up. When we see something unjust happening.
Right. And, and it doesn't have to be, you can do it anonymously, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, you can. You don't really have to get involved other than saying something.
Right. So the other thing that you guys really do a good job of promoting is making referrals to Polaris, right?
Yeah, the National Human Trafficking Hotline you can call them, and they're a centralized database, and they have their own protocols to mobilize the resources when necessary. So they are a great resource to have.
And Brad is actually
Miles.
He's going to be there speaking.
Yeah,
right?
He'll be at the Freedom Summit. We're excited to have him share from a kind of national perspective on what's happening.
Yeah, so 888
3737.
Yeah,
888.
There you go. So if you see something that doesn't look right, give that number a call, and they have people 24/7 standing by. I've called the number many times, and the people that I've spoken to have been extremely helpful and compassionate and caring. So that's 888
3737 888.
There you go. We'll be right back with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages.
Trash bills weighing you down? At Case Industries, we specialize in lowering waste costs and providing trash consolidation and compaction services for multifamily properties, condos, and commercial shopping centers. Let us help you reduce operating expenses and increase property NOI. Case Industries, saving the planet, saving you money. Contact us today for a property trash and recycling assessment online at caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. That's caseindustries.us or call 510-566-4223. Case Industries, the property manager's friend.
Hi, I'm Sandra Herrera, CEO of Case Industries. I've found that many employers are looking for ways to help the community but don't know how. I encourage you to consider supporting Abolition Radio as a corporate sponsor. Love Never Fails offers all the resources necessary to help young women and men overcome the trauma of exploitation and abuse. And that's why I'm proud to have Case Industries supporting Abolition Radio.
Fails.
Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So I wanted to just kind of touch base on a couple other things. So you have several things going on just on an ongoing basis when you're not doing, Freedom Summit.
Yeah.
And so you were telling me during the break a little bit about the collaborative resource project that you're working on. What is that?
So, well, there's two things. This project is an opportunity to really bring together a one-stop place, an online resource to really kind of build the capacity of the Bay Area anti-trafficking organizations. And so what that looks like is a website so there are websites that kind of try to map where the crime's happening. We feel like we're in a position to build a website that maps where training is going out. So, for example, I alluded to earlier, airports or hospitals or hotels that get trained or other businesses. I think as we start spreading out training around over these next few years, we'll see this map getting populated, and we can see what we're doing on the preventive end to see, how people are being trained and becoming aware and being able to identify victims and become educated. Part of that map part of that website will also include a database of people doing trainings around the Bay Area. So people want to get trained can get paired up with people who are doing trainings. And so, again, this is all part of awareness spreading. And then it'll also include a whole community resource guide where I think every provider and coalition has their own kind of network of resources. But if we get a Bay Area-wide resource of who does legal services, who does housing, who does job training, who does this and that, then we can just have one place where law enforcement can go, service providers can go, and they have a client. They can find everything they need in one spot and what's available and who does it. So
I love that.
We're excited. We're working with the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking and some people at Stanford to really put this project forth in the next few months, hopefully. You'll hear more about that at the Freedom Summit as well.
That is so cool, and absolutely would be, so valuable. I'm thinking of this next weekend, this next Saturday. We're doing a youth commission against trafficking walkathon at Tennyson High School in the morning. At the same time, Courage Worldwide is doing a training in Sacramento. So, and what's beautiful is if we could get this all, like you said, on a map or somewhere, people who are in the Roseville, Sacramento area could go to the Courage Worldwide event. People who are in the East Bay can come, and then I think the night before BJM has their fundraiser. They're at Yammers on, and there's going to be an educational component. So, to that. Right. And then there's also a youth, what is it? There's an open mic event at Betty Ono's in Oakland. And so, even having, sort of like a Eventbrite type of thing for trafficking.
Well, so we've tried to start to put together a centralized calendar on our homepage, right. The BAATC.org.
Ruby is involved in that.
Yeah, so we have a calendar, and whenever we hear about events, we get them up there so someone can go and look where they can be on a given night.
And tell everybody who's listening your website. What is?
So our website is baatc.org. And then if they want to go, you can go to the Freedom Summit site from there, but that's freedom-summit.org.
And then you also have a social media campaign that's going on, and so people could follow you on Twitter and like your page?
Yeah, Twitter and Facebook. We've been doing a lot of social media efforts around the Freedom Summit, but then we also post about events. So when we hear about events that go on our calendar, we post about them so people can keep up with what's going on around the Bay Area.
So what is the name of your page?
Facebook.com/BAATC.org. Okay. And then our Twitter handle is at BAATCDOTORG.
There you go.
Out. Yeah.
That's right. Spelled out. Okay. And all the folks that are listening who are like 25 and under got that.
Yeah, so. We have the folks under 25 are probably on Instagram, which we have an account, but we need to get to use it a little more. But we really feel like the other thing that we kind of do ongoing is we really feel like the church is a key to leading the fight against injustice. So we've really tried to engage churches in different ways. And our latest thing that we're going to be rolling out at the Freedom Summit is it's a church engagement tool where you can go to a questionnaire online and you can fill out things about your church, networks you're already in, types of people at your church, interests that you have, your background in understanding justice from a biblical standpoint. And then what we'll do once someone fills that out is we'll have someone from our church engagement volunteer team sit down and help spell out an action plan for your churches. So these are types of events you could hold. These are types of organizations you could partner with. These are types of activities certain ministries in your church could do. So we really feel like helping churches along in this fight is really what's going to spur the movement forward.
That is so needed. Oh my gosh.
So we really love doing that.
I love that idea. Okay, now my brain is just cooking. I love that idea because, it's like how many churches are out there and they have some folks that are sitting there wanting to get involved in justice and don't know where to go.
Right. And how do they bring everybody along with them too?
Right. And then the other piece is not every church has the infrastructure to, take on a justice pastor, a social justice pastor, or an outreach pastor. And so could a couple of those members connect their body to the greater system that is being developed, right?
Yeah, and they can learn from other churches that are further along the journey. And how does a smaller group of lay people kind of rally the entire congregation, and everybody can do something. So we think that's a key way to get started.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a young lady. I wonder if you connected her to us, but her name is Emily, and she's from Sequoia Community Church. And
it was through Regina that I met her.
Okay, talk about a fiery... this woman, young lady, she came in and she's like, I really want to get my church more involved. And this was maybe 8 months ago. And 8 months later, she's got tons of people coming to outreach.
Nice.
They're doing coat drives. When we do outreach, we give out coats. They do, they've given us food. And so it's just one person.
That's a great example. One person can make a huge difference.
Right. So great. So I definitely want to just plug the URL one more time. That's freedom-summit.org. And you can see the lineup of speakers and artists, and you can get tickets there. And we have a schedule of the day posted. So that'll be your resource place to go for Freedom Summit. Excellent. And then again, the week prior will be MISSSEY's gala. That's on May 2nd. And that is, again, to support MISSSEY and all of their programs. So we're going to be back. I'm going to tell you about some other events that are going on in the community. And we'll be back in just a second with another session of Abolition Radio.
We'll be back with more Abolition Radio right after these messages from our sponsors. Jesus declared himself to be the fulfillment of God's heart for justice when he quoted Isaiah, "He has sent me to proclaim freedom and to set the oppressed free." We put that call for justice into action when we take a stand for freedom against modern-day slavery. The 2015 Freedom Summit is coming to Levi Stadium on Saturday, May 9th, and we're inviting you to take action by coming to this one-day event that will help put an end to human trafficking in California. The Bay Area Anti-Trafficking Coalition and Abolition Radio invite you to come discover how you can be a freedom fighter against the sex slavery and labor trafficking that is happening today right in your community. Come find out how housewives, business leaders, artists, and churches all around the Bay are joining together to fight the evil of human trafficking close to home and around the world. Go to kfax.com right now and click the Freedom Summit banner to register for the 2015 Summit at Levi Stadium on Saturday, May 9th. Welcome back to Abolition Radio, where you are invited to join the fight against human trafficking.
And welcome back to Abolition Radio, the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails. So we have quite a few things going on in the community. And again, I'm super excited about the resource calendar that Bay Area Anti-Trafficking Coalition is going to be putting together in terms of education throughout the Bay Area. So stay tuned for that and be looking for that announcement at Freedom Summit. We do have some events that we have coming up that are educational in nature. And we also have just some fun times that we want to invite you out to. So starting with, of course, we always want to make sure that you mark on your calendar our Love Never Fails Action Network meeting, which is the first Sunday of every month from 2:15 to 4:15. And that is at Lift Ministries, which is 22580 Grand Street in Hayward, California. Again, first Sundays of every month, and you will hear from each of our directors about the variety of things that we're doing in the community and the ways that you can get involved. And then also on a monthly basis is our outreach. Just this past week, we went out to San Jose, which was surprisingly very, very quiet. I don't know what happened, but I guess that's I'm not sure if it's a good thing. Maybe people are more moving towards online in San Jose area, but we definitely went out and we met with quite a few people, and we do that every month. The third Saturday of every month, we do a training from 6:30 to about 8:30 at Faith Fellowship Church, and that address is 577 Manor Boulevard in San Leandro, California. And then we go off to wherever it is that we're focusing on. So we want to invite you to join us in May. We'll be going out to Oakland. Also, we want to tell you a little bit about some of the upcoming events. Tomorrow, we are going to be participating in the Justice Conference at Cornerstone Livermore Church, which is at 3 p.m. We will be sitting on the education panel and also the aftercare housing panel, and there's a whole lineup of panelists that you can learn from. And so please do come out 3 p.m. and learn more about how you can get involved in the Tri-Valley area. And then following that, we have an event on Cinco de Mayo. So many of you heard, we've been invited to participate in Silicon Valley Gives, and we have been extended a $25,000 matching grant from Cornerstone Livermore. They will match every dollar that you contribute to the Silicon Valley Silicon Valley Gives portal, where we are listed, and up to $25,000. I mean, can you believe that? And this is in support of the I Am House of Restoration. So please do help us. There's a couple of ways you can get involved with that. Number one, you can go to the Silicon Valley Gives website and search for Love Never Fails and give that way. You can actually schedule a contribution today that will hit the account on May 5th. When their day of giving commences at 12 a.m. 12 midnight that day, all of the scheduled payments will hit. Or you can actually join us if you'd like at Fountain Church in Pleasanton. That's in Pleasanton, 7 to 9 p.m. Fountain Church, and bring your contribution there. We're going to have some chips and salsa, and we're going to have a little bit of fellowship. And here I'll be there speaking briefly. And really, it's more about us just getting together and having some fun on Cinco de Mayo, listening a little bit of salsa music. Maybe I'll even teach a little bit of cha-cha that day. What do you think, Brian?
Yes, love it.
So, yeah, we'll be out there with Pastor Matt and Jackie Lacey at the Fountain Church. And again, we encourage you. One of the things that I mentioned, for those of you who read the article about the I Am House, is we've kicked off this campaign, and it's called the Share the Love campaign. And really what it's about is we don't want you out there denying yourself the pleasantries that you love, going to the movies, going and maybe cooking a chocolate chip pancake breakfast for your kids, or maybe going to the Santa Cruz Boardwalk. Go ahead and do those things. I mean, that's why we're here. We want to spend family time and enjoy our lives. But if you wouldn't mind putting in, get a jar or a bowl in your house or a box in your house, and every time you go and do something fun, put $1 in that box or that jar. And with the thought process being that you're sharing the love. Every time you do something you love, you're putting $1 aside so that someone who was once exploited can also do the same thing for them and their families. So bring that jar with you. Bring that box with you to the Cinco de Mayo party, and we will pull all the money together and contribute it. And again, that will help us to gain access to that $25,000 grant from Cornerstone Fellowship in Livermore. And again, we thank Pastor Madsen, Steve Madsen, and his staff for supporting us as we've launched the I Am House, and also just in general, and being a courageous community collaborator with Love Never Fails. So that's on May the 5th. And then we want to invite you out for a couple of events in the summer. Before we do that, an education opportunity. So we are going to be teaching facilitators how to deliver the Love, Don't Hurt training that we are taking into the school. So many of you have heard us. We have a abuse prevention and sex trafficking awareness program that we're taking into the middle and high schools throughout the Bay Area. And we have delivered that program to over 4,000 students over the last 3 years. It is certified, or not certified, but reviewed by the California Department of Education. And it definitely meets health education standards according to their specifications. And so we want to train anyone who's interested in becoming a facilitator. Come and join us in Hayward. The address is posted on our website, which is loveneverfailsus.com. And that's on the 16th of May. So please do come and be a part of educating. Prevention, right? The average age of a person that's being exploited in the U.S. is 12 to 14. If we can get in those middle schools with those 10 and 11-year-old children, we can empower them with the insight on the recruiting tactics and also helping them to know their vulnerabilities so that those cannot be preyed upon by somebody who's wishing to exploit them. So please do join us in doing that on the 16th of May. On from there, we have a couple of fun events scheduled for the summer. So go ahead and save the date for July the 3rd at 4 p.m. We are going to do the Love Never Fails tour. Once again, we're going to have a whole lineup of musical artists and dance teams that will be dancing and singing and just offering their gifts to raise awareness about human trafficking there at the Alameda County Fair. Again, the Love Never Fails tour. That is July 3rd. That should be a day off for most of us, and it's at 4 o'clock. And, you know, talk about independence, right? Talk about Independence Day. We want to get together and celebrate freedom for all. So come out and join us. And then lastly, also mark your calendars for August 8th. We are going to have a benefit concert at Templo de la Cruz in Hayward. And we're going to have a bunch of musicians in with the goal of raising the funding that we need to support phase 2 of our housing program. So as many of you know, we have already opened up our I Am House of Restoration, which is an emergency safe house for 5 women and up to 10 children. And that is located in Alameda County, and we have funding for 6 months. But again, we won't be able to transition them into phase 2 unless we can get the funding that we need. So give on Silicon Valley Gives on May the 5th, and also come to this benefit concert, enjoy yourself, and make a contribution to that effort there. So lots of ways you can get involved, and of course, a plea for funding. I mean, what else? What else do you get when you're talking about being a nonprofit that's fighting in this space, right? Inevitable. It's inevitable. So anyway, we thank you for being the hands and feet of Christ and supporting us and coming along with us in this journey and this fight against human trafficking. And we always want to end our show, if you haven't heard it from anyone else, we want to make sure that you know that you are loved.
Thanks for joining us this week on Abolition Radio. We trust that you've been inspired by these stories of hope and survival, and that you'll accept our challenge to get involved by contacting us at abolitionradio.org, by liking and sharing our page on Facebook, Facebook/Abolition Radio, or by making a contribution directly to Love Never Fails. Abolition Radio is the broadcast outreach of Love Never Fails, which is a donor-supported, nonprofit ministry that Vanessa founded as a way of directly impacting the lives of young people who are trapped in or at risk of becoming involved in sex trafficking. This broadcast needs your involvement and support. To find out more, simply go to abolitionradio.org and click on Love Never Fails. Today's program was brought to you in part by Case Industries and with major support from the staff and membership and donors at Faith Fellowship Church. Our theme song, Courage to Believe, is by Justin McRoberts. Hear more about his passion for justice and art at justinmcroberts.com. Our audio engineer is Jarrell Martin, and this is Dave Naderhood. On behalf of Vanessa, Benita, and the whole team at Love Never Fails, thanks for listening, and thanks even more for taking action to help set captives free.
You were in the neighborhoods we live in. You were in the ones we're passing by. You were in the ones we call our neighbors, and the ones who still sleep our eyes.